Ever since I was in school and all of my life, I've had problems with retention and comprehension and just problems with my brain, not being able to comprehend what was being said, and after reading something not being able to remember what it was. That was the first beginning of problems, but when I was 20 years old, I started having severe pain up under my shoulder blades, in my neck, and in my head. And I started seeking out doctors, and back in the 60s, they knew nothing of fibromyalgia, so they pretty much told me it was all in my head. But they did begin to give me some pain medication, and that was pretty much the beginning of a downward spiral. In 1988, I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I went into a pain clinic. And at that time, they didn't know what caused fibromyalgia, so they weren't able to help me either. So when I got out of the pain clinic, I sought out my family doctor, and he started me on opiates and antidepressants because he thought that fibromyalgia was caused by a lack of serotonin in the brain. But my body began to build up tolerance to these drugs, so we went from opiates to narcotics. So over the years, these drugs put me in the bed, and I was in the bed for 10 years. Three things happened to me that put me on the road to health. And the first thing was my baby brother died of pancreatic cancer. And then my only son, who had already graduated from college and was living in Washington, D.C., would come home on weekends, and I would be in the bed and unable to converse. And so I went to him one day and said, "Rob, there's a great barrier between us, and I don't know how to fix it." And he said, "Mom, I know you can't help it. I know you're sick and you have to take these drugs, but we don't have any relationship." And a big tear just rolled out of his eye. And I was determined then that I was going to get well. So the next thing that happened was I got a hold of a book by Jordan Rubin called The Maker's Diet. And in this book, he talked about toxicity in the body causing a lot of diseases and conditions, and one of them was fibromyalgia. And he had cured himself from Crohn's disease with probiotics. So I began to take probiotics, and I also began eating all organic food, and the meat and chicken I ate would not have any steroids or antibiotics or growth hormones in them. And I also began to wean myself off of the drugs. So this began to get me out of the bed. And so I was able to begin to live a normal life, except that I knew I still wasn't well. So I began driving. I hadn't driven for 15 years because I was afraid I would kill myself or someone else on the road. But I was in a health food store one day, and Dr. Buttar's name came up. So I came into the office. We did the challenge, and sure enough, I had heavy metal toxicity. So after many chelations, my fibromyalgia is not completely gone, but has diminished greatly. I occasionally will have a flare-up if I'm under quite a bit of stress, but any pressure to the trigger point will make the pain go away. I still have a way to go. I still have quite a bit of mercury and lead in my body because I'm a non-secretor, and that means toxics in but not many toxics out. But I'm very grateful to Dr. Buttar and his staff because they have given me hope that I will get well when the medical doctors gave me no hope at all.